You know that feeling when your mouth starts moving and then stops? Not because you do not know English, not because you forgot everything, but because you are trying to find the perfect sentence, the long one, the complete one, the one that sounds impressive enough. And while you are searching for that sentence, the moment is already gone. The other person is already looking at you. The silence is already there, and you feel something in your chest, a kind of quiet embarrassment, a small defeat. If this has happened to you, I want you to know something important. This is not a sign that your English is bad. This is not a sign that you are not ready to speak. It is a sign that you have been trained to do something that actually works against you in real conversation. And today, we are going to change that. Because here is the truth that most traditional learning methods never teach you. Impact in English does not come from long sentences. It does not come from sophisticated vocabulary. It does not come from grammatically perfect structures. It comes from clarity, from confidence, from choosing the right words, even if there are only 5 of them. And by the end of this episode, you are going to have a system, a real, practical system to speak with more impact, more confidence, and far fewer words than you think you need. Stay with me. This matters. Let me ask you something honest. How did you learn English? Most likely you studied grammar rules, you memorized vocabulary lists, you completed exercises with blanks to fill in, you learned to write correct sentences, and then someone expected you to speak, and it felt completely different, almost like a different language. This is not a coincidence, and it is not your fault. Think about it this way. Imagine someone who reads every swimming manual ever written. They study the theory of breathing technique. They memorize the angles of each stroke. They can describe freestyle swimming in perfect technical detail, and then they jump into the pool and sink. Reading about swimming and swimming are 2 completely different skills. Think about that for a second. The same thing happens with English. Understanding the language and producing the language in real time, under pressure, in front of another person, are 2 completely different skills. One is passive, the other is active. And what most traditional methods do, as many language educators observe, is train the passive skill almost exclusively. They train your eyes and your ears, but they rarely train your mouth. And here is where it gets even more specific. Most people who struggle to speak English in real situations are not struggling because they lack vocabulary. In fact, many language acquisition specialists observe that the average person already knows enough words to have a basic, clear, meaningful conversation. The problem is not the size of your vocabulary. The problem is how you try to use it. Because when you are in front of a real person, your brain does not search for the simplest word. It searches for the most complete sentence, the most correct sentence, the most impressive version of what you want to say. And that search, that gap between what you want to say and what you are trying to construct, is exactly where you freeze. Think of it like a runner who trained for months on a treadmill. They are fit. They are ready. But the treadmill never moves. Everything is controlled, safe, predictable. And then race day comes, with wind, with other runners, with real ground beneath their feet. And suddenly nothing feels the same. Speaking English in real life is that race. And the training most people do never actually puts them on that real ground. But here is the reframe. This is the part I really want you to hear. The reason you freeze is not because you are not smart. It is not because you do not try hard enough. It is because you were taught that more words equal more competence. And you have been carrying that belief into every single conversation. Letting it go is the first step to speaking with real impact. Let me tell you about a moment I still remember very clearly. I was at a small event, an international gathering. Nothing fancy, just a group of people from different countries, all in the same room. And someone walked up to me, a young woman from Canada. She smiled and said simply, "So, what do you do?" 4 words. A simple question. I'd heard it 1,000 times before in English courses. I'd answered it in writing. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I work with content. I create videos. I help people learn things. But what came out was nothing. Actually, let me say that differently. Something came out. It was a sound, a breath, a smile that was trying too hard to cover the panic, and then a sentence that came out wrong, half in English, half in silence, not finishing itself. She was kind about it. She nodded. She moved on, and I stood there, holding a cup of something cold, thinking about every single word I could have said. That moment stayed with me, not because it was devastating, but because I finally asked the right question afterward. I did not ask, how do I memorize more vocabulary? I asked, why did I freeze when I already knew what I wanted to say? And the answer, when I really sat with it, was uncomfortable. I was trying to say too much. I was constructing the entire sentence in my head, with correct grammar, with impressive vocabulary, with perfect intonation, before letting any of it out. And by the time the sentence was ready, the moment was already gone. The shift came when I started doing something different, small, almost embarrassingly simple. I stopped trying to impress. I started trying to connect. And I realized the most powerful conversations I had ever witnessed in English were not the ones filled with long, sophisticated sentences. They were the ones where someone looked me in the eye and said exactly what they meant, directly, clearly, without apology. I create videos. I teach people things. I love what I do. That is 12 words. And it is everything. It is more than everything, because impact does not live in length. It lives in clarity. And that was the beginning of what I now call the less is more method. Before I show you this system, I want you to understand something important. This is not about speaking broken English. This is not about ignoring grammar. This is about a fundamental shift in how you approach the moment of speaking. Because fluency, as many experienced language learners and teachers observe, is not the ability to say everything perfectly. It is the ability to keep the conversation moving, clearly, confidently, and without fear. The less is more method has 3 parts. Each one builds on the last. Together, they change not just how you speak English, but how you feel when you speak it. The first part is called compress. Compression is the practice of saying something in fewer words than your brain first wants to use. Here is why it works. When you try to build a complete, complex sentence before speaking, you create a bottleneck. The sentence is not ready, so nothing comes out. But when you train yourself to compress, to find the shortest, truest version of what you want to say, you remove the bottleneck. The words come out faster, the meaning is clearer, and the listener actually engages more. Here is how to practice this. Take any thought you want to express in English. Write it out the long way first. I am currently working in the field of digital content creation, specifically focused on educational videos for online platforms. Now compress it. What is the core meaning? I make educational videos online. That is it. That is the sentence that starts the conversation. And that real conversation is where fluency grows. Practice compression every day. Think of something you want to say in English. Find the 5-word version. Say it out loud. Then say it again. Not the long version, the compressed version. Pause here. Feel the difference between those 2 sentences. The second part is called anchor. Anchoring means connecting your compressed sentence to something real, a detail, an emotion, a simple follow-up that gives your statement roots. Because compression without context can sound abrupt, anchoring makes it feel complete without making it long. Here is the pattern. Short statement, plus 1 anchor detail. I make educational videos online. It started as a side project, and now it is my main work. 2 sentences, under 20 words. Clear, complete, connected. The anchor does not need to be impressive. It needs to be true. I live in São Paulo. I have been here my whole life. I study English. I want to use it for work. I like coffee, especially in the morning before everything starts. Simple, human, real. When you anchor, you give the other person something to respond to. You keep the conversation alive. And that back and forth movement, is where real fluency happens. Not in the length of your sentences, in the rhythm of the exchange. Here is how to practice anchoring right now. Think of 3 things that are true about you. Compress each one into a short statement. Then add 1 anchor detail to each. Write them down. Say them out loud. That is your conversational foundation. And now, this is the part most people miss. The third part is called deliver. Delivery is where everything you have been building actually enters the world. And here is what I mean. You can have the perfect compressed sentence. You can have a clear anchor. But if you deliver it quietly, with your eyes down, with a voice that apologizes for itself, the impact disappears. Delivery is about your voice, the volume, the pace, the small pause you take before the key word. Many experienced language coaches observe that in real conversational English, a short sentence delivered with confidence and clear intention carries more weight than a long sentence spoken with hesitation. Because communication is not just words, it is energy. Here is the practice for delivery. Say your compressed, anchored sentence, but this time, say it as if you believe it. Not loudly, not aggressively, just with presence. Before you say it, take one breath. Then speak. Keep your pace slightly slower than your instinct tells you. Let the words land. I make educational videos online. It started as a side project, and now it is my main work. Say that with a breath before it, with your eyes forward, with a voice that does not trail off at the end. Feel how different that is. That is the difference between speaking and communicating. The less is more method. Compress, anchor, deliver. 3 steps. 1 shift in how you approach every single conversation in English from this point forward. Now, I want to show you how this lives in your real day. Because the question I hear most often is, I do not have time to practice. And I understand that. You have work, you have family, you have a life that does not stop to let you study English. But here is the good news. The less is more method does not require extra time. It requires different time. Moments you already have. Moments that are already in your day. You just need to put them to use in a new way. Imagine it is 7 a.m. Before you check your phone. Before the noise of the day begins, you have 5 minutes. Not to scroll, not to read, just to speak. In those 5 minutes, say 3 things out loud in English. 3 things about your day, your morning, your life, using the compress anchor deliver structure. It is Thursday. I have 2 meetings today. I feel a little tired, but I am ready. That is it. 19 words said out loud, clearly, with presence. This is your morning activation. Your brain hears your own voice in English before it hears anything else. And that, as many people who develop fluency report, is a habit that builds confidence faster than almost anything else. This works as a habit stack. You are attaching English practice to something you already do every morning. Instead of silence before the day starts, you have voice. English voice. Your voice. During the day, you have more moments than you think. The commute, the line at the coffee shop, the 2 minutes between meetings. Pick one moment. Choose one experience you are having right now. Something small, something real. Compress it into English. The traffic is bad. I am late, but the music helps. Say it quietly, or in your head if you cannot say it out loud. Anchor it. I have this meeting in 20 minutes. I want to be calm when I get there. This is real-time practice. This is your brain learning to translate experience into English. Not grammar exercises, but life. And in the evening, 15 to 20 minutes, no more. Choose a short piece of audio in English. A podcast, a clip, a short video. Listen once, then take 1 sentence from it, just one, and practice delivering it using the deliver step. Slow it down. Breathe. Say it with presence. Then write 3 sentences about your day using the full method. Compress, anchor, deliver them in writing first, then say them out loud. There will be days when you want to skip this. That is normal. I really mean that. Some days the motivation is not there. Some days nothing feels like it is working. On those days, do just the morning activation. 5 minutes, 3 sentences. That is enough to keep the habit alive, because consistency beats intensity every single time. I want to talk to you now about something that does not get enough attention in most English learning content, and that is what happens on the days when you feel like you are going backwards. You know those days. You speak, and it feels worse than last week. You forget a word you have known for years. You try to use your method, and it feels forced and mechanical. And that quiet voice inside starts saying the thing it always says. maybe this is just not for me. If you have ever felt that, you are not alone, not even close. Here is what I want you to understand. Progress in language learning, as many people who have actually reached fluency will tell you, is not linear. It does not go up in a clean, straight line. It goes up, then sideways, then up again, then sideways for a while. Then, suddenly, without warning, something clicks. A sentence comes out faster. A conversation flows without panic. A stranger says, "Your English is really good," and you almost laugh because you remember standing in a room not long ago, completely frozen. That plateau period, those sideways weeks, is not failure. It is consolidation. It is your brain doing invisible work. Think about someone who goes to the gym every day. On some days, they feel strong. On other days, the same weight feels heavier than the day before. Does that mean they are getting weaker? Of course not. The muscle is still being built. The adaptation is still happening. It just does not always feel that way. The cycle most people fall into looks like this. High motivation at the start, early progress that feels exciting, then a plateau that feels like regression, then abandonment, then guilt, then starting over again from zero, with a little less belief than the last time. I want to name that cycle without judgment, because almost everyone goes through it, and the way out of it is not more discipline, it is not more pressure, it is a different definition of progress. Progress is not, "I spoke perfectly today." Progress is, "I spoke. I used one new structure. I kept going even when it felt uncomfortable." Are you a little better today than you were yesterday? Take a moment with that question. Not compared to a native speaker, not compared to someone who did an immersion program for 6 months. Just compared to yourself, yesterday's version of you. Because that is the only comparison that matters. And if the answer is even a small yes, if you spoke one sentence out loud that you would not have spoken before, then today was a good day. Keep your eyes on your own path. Move at your own pace. And trust that the days when nothing seems to be happening are often exactly the days when the most important work is being done. I really want you to carry that with you. So right now, after this episode ends, I want you to do one small thing. Not tomorrow, not this weekend when you have more time. Today, right now. I want you to try the less is more method with one single thought, something true about your life at this exact moment. Compress it, anchor it, and deliver it out loud, with your real voice, with a breath before it, with presence. Say something like this: "I'm learning English. It is not always easy, but I keep going." 13 words, 3 sentences, 1 truth. Say it slowly. Say it clearly. Say it loud enough to hear yourself, because that is the step most people skip, and it is the most important one. Before I go, I need you to understand something. Every single time you speak English out loud, even alone, even quietly, even imperfectly, you are teaching your voice something it will remember. You are telling your brain that this language belongs to you too, that these words are yours, that this voice, speaking English, is not a stranger. It is you. And that is not a small thing. That is everything. Thank you for being here today. Seriously, I know your time is valuable, and choosing to spend part of it working on yourself, that matters. Keep going. Do not stop after one video, one session, one day. Your progress does not end here. Click on the next video we selected for you, because the next step is already waiting. I will see you there.